I want to begin by thanking both Ronnie Olsweng, who is head of PR and marketing in Yachsei Tzibor, for organizing the emails and getting people involved. Stu Schrader, who is involved in preparing tonight's presentation. Heidi, our volunteer coordinator, who invited many of you to come view tonight, and Ella, who was involved in the presentation tonight. The bulk of who signed up are from our volunteer corps. And I have to say that although we are very grateful for the professional staff that Lema'an has, we're only able to do what we're able to because of our dedicated volunteers. We have a tremendous core of volunteers with every possible project that Lema'an does and provides to the community. And we have people who give of their time and their expertise and their love and dedication in order to make our programs go. Tonight, we have a lot of those volunteers represented, the Sister Circle, and from our dental clinic and from food collections, all the different programs. And I thank you all for every minute, second, day that you give to Lema'an and for our families. And we're going to just the next 20, 25 minutes or so, just have a review of the past year of 2021. Mostly Tafshin Pei Aleph and a little bit of Tafshin Pei Bet as well. And what we were able to accomplish, again, thanks to our donors and volunteers who really are the nucleus of the Lema'an family that helps us help others so much. What is Lema'an? So Lema'an is Smart Chesed. I surmise that most of the people on the Zoom tonight know what Smart Chesed is, but we're going to remind everyone how we do Smart Chesed. How do we do Smart Chesed? Social workers, our social work team as part of our professional staff are the foundation of our families who work together with our families. They help hardworking through financial counseling, changing and challenging job market through career and vocational planning, citizens' rights advocacy, government benefits and entitlements, and you guys and the rest of our volunteer corps who really make up the Lema'an family, creating all of the opportunities for our families. We are presently all over the city of Beit Shemesh. You'll see this is the representation of Ramat Beit Shemesh, all over the city. Almost everyone in the city, there's almost no street that doesn't have a Lema'an family who is getting assistance or programs from what we do. In addition, over the past 6 months, we have had pniot, we've had requests from all over the country. As far north as Katzrin, as far south, as you can see on this map, but even Beersheba, Ashkelon, different places that have come, people come and they want Smart Chesed to be able to make a difference for their future. And Baruch Hashem, every day, today alone, we had 2 pniot from Yerushalayim. Again, we're not going physically to those places, but they're coming to Beit Shemesh in order to get the professional help of Lema'an. The Social Work Foundation of Smart Chesed presently is working with 333 families. That's in the full rehabilitation program, what we call Shikum. That is the 40 plus programs of Lema'an. During 2021, that represented 4,080 case management meetings with social workers. So those 333 families had a minimum, it's actually a little bit more than 4,080 meetings with the social workers to plot their progress, to see what the future will bring, and in order to plan whatever they're going to do next in their rehabilitation. And we see that it has grown, the number of families helped. In 2016, it was just over 200 to 221, where today we have, again, over 330 families that we're helping. It's almost a 10% growth every year. Financial counseling, one of the crown jewels of Lema'an is a financial counseling, financial therapy, we call it. What is the financial counseling? We promote financial well-being, education, and empowerment. The people should know what it means to be financially responsible. Some families come to us, they don't know what it means to have the balance in their checking accounts. What happens when you go into minus, so overdraft? Balancing fiscal responsibility with physical and emotional well-being. A lot of times they're cause and effects when a person is in a financial difficulty. So the emotional and physical well-being adds to the fiscal responsibility. and providing the tools and skills for the modern workplace. We help people brush up on their CV. We help people train in various professions, or to retrain in various professions, educating available government benefits and citizens' rights, whether it's bituach leumi, sometimes in nachut, if a person is getting disability. All of those things are available, the help in the Lema'an office. We also guide entrepreneurs in the development of financial and budgetary systems for small businesses. A lot of times people have a great idea in order to make a business, but they don't have the tools to make that business. So we have financial and business planners and marketing people that will help our families in creating and maintaining a business. Financial counseling and therapy. This is a letter that we received very recently. A big thank you. I'm not going to read through the whole letter. I'll leave it here for a few seconds so you'll be able to read through it. And it's, again, the whole feeling that a person came through the financial counseling, financial therapy of Lema'an Chai, and all of the aspects that they had, spending on a weekly basis, paying attention, our envelope method. And then there was a miracle that happened in the middle of this. A person was earning a low amount in their part-time job, and they were receiving outside help from a certain source, and they knew that could stop at any point. However, the employer suddenly offered a promotion and a pay raise, and the extra monthly exact covered the amount that they're being given by the outside source. So they're now to a point where they don't feel that they're lowly, not basar vadam, that they're going to have to rely on other people. They'll be able, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Lema'an Chai's help, to rely on themselves. Again, we call ourselves Smart Chesed because we have career and vocational planning. It's not just about giving out money, it's about creating the tools for the future. So that's done through loans, small business loans, courses, financial assistance, Hotzah L'Pol, schooling and debt reconsolidation. That's all part of our vocational planning, the business in early stages of development for people and families. Education. We have families going through university and certificate courses, sometimes to get a first degree, which is a bachelor's, Torah Sheni, a master's, or certification in various professions where they don't need to have a degree, and a certification aspect is fine as well. Second generation. One of the things Lema'an Chai is very grateful for is that we've been able to affect the children of our families. Statistically, in the world at large, almost 80%, depending on the culture, of the second generation of impoverished people or people in crisis end up starting and living their lives similarly in crisis or in poverty. And we've gone for almost 1,000 families. We went and evaluated 1,000 families that are no longer with Lema'an Chai. And we have the flip side of that. Almost 80% of our second generation are either self-sufficient or on the road to self-sufficiency. And again, it's because of the Smart Chesed philosophy that is filtered down from the parents into the framework of their family. Resumes. A lot of times people have a resume. I find this very often. They come to Israel and they have what I call an American resume. An American resume is more like a booklet. And in Israel, an employer doesn't want more than one page. They want you to be able to show your work history and your education and your experience in one page. And one of the things that we have is that we have people in the office who help our families consolidate that CV to one page, and also has multi-talents. They worked in various tchumim, in various different aspects of employment. We will create a CV for each specific education or skill set that the family has. Career counseling includes career direction, pre-studying, practical tools, resume, LinkedIn, interviewing, role modeling, initial stages of business coaching. All of that is part of the rehabilitation program, the Shikun program of Lema'an Chai. Here is a story. Real life, a young divorced mother of 2 children. She grew up in foster home. She never finished high school. She married at 16. Unfortunately, she divorced at 20. Maybe not so unfortunately, because she left an abusive husband. She came to Lema'an Chai for help. She didn't want to be a miskena. She didn't want to be a ward of the community forever. So we provided a career counseling for her, supportive emotional counseling, which is very important when she was leaving an abusive marriage, monthly stipend towards living expenses, citizens' rights assistance, again, through Bituach Leumi and other government programs, pre-holiday financial assistance, and the financial counseling and management to help with budgeting. At this point, She completed a pre-college preparatory course and psychometric exams. She began a bachelor's degree, Torah Rishon, in health administration, with the hopes after 2 years to transfer to nursing school. This is what Lema'an Achai does. There's some philosophy that say just throw money at the program. If we threw money at her in 10 years, she would just need more money. And now she's going to be able to stand on her own and to help her family and support her family. Another real life story, a couple with 3 teenage children that made Aliyah from South Africa a few years ago. They had financial challenges specifically as a result of COVID-19. This is a story over the past year. The husband has a long work history in the hotel industry. We know the hotel industry was severely hit because of COVID. And since then, because of the instability in the hotel industry, he's been employed as a cleaner in homes and shuls and other businesses. They came to Lema'an Achai for solutions, not Band-Aids. We were able, again, to provide case management, supportive and emotional counseling, business consultancy, financial stipends towards the husband's initial purchase of products, as well as advertising costs, marketing, citizen rights counseling, and again, the pre-holiday assistance. In addition to working at Citibook, he has a full-time job. He's begun a small business selling biodegradable paperware to hotels and individuals throughout the country. Because of the tax on disposable goods, there's a very big demand for the biodegradable paperware, which is not taxed. And therefore, his business has been able to flourish over the last several months with the new tax on plastic and paperware. While learning how to fish, we help the families. We know that the famous saying of Lao Tzu is that if you feed a man a fish, you fed him for today. If you teach him how to fish, you fed him for life. Yes, it's Lao Tzu who said that, the Chinese philosopher. It wasn't the icon of the Christian religion, nor was it the Rambam. Rambam said something similar. It was Lao Tzu who said that you have to teach a man to fish. However, we add that while a person is learning how to fish, you have to feed them lest they starve. So during 2021, we gave out 4,309,862 shekel in material assistance for those families that were learning how to fish in order to help them through their process. Citizens' rights advocacy. Those who come into the office know that Avivit sits, and she sits with families for the citizens' rights. We live in a country that has some significant help from the government, but not everyone knows how to go through the red tape to cut through the bureaucracy. So we help people with Arnona, if there's an Arnona discounts, to help get the Arnona discount, disability and other allowances. As a person has a physical or emotional disability that's keeping them from working full time, the Bituach Leumi has a stipend and allowance for that. There's a guaranteed minimal income. If a person is unemployed, they're fired, there's a guaranteed minimal income, utility help. Sometimes an electric bill and they want to cut off your electricity, we can work with the utility companies, whether it's electricity, water, to come out with a payment plan and rehabilitation programs that are government sponsored. Citizens' rights advocacy, here is a letter that we received recently, Avivit received for the help that she gave. And again, you see in this letter, if you want to take a second to read through it, I won't read through it except for one part. When this person ends, that tamid tiyeh b'tzad hanoten v'hamesayeh, that they daven, they are mitpalel, that they should always be on the side of the giver and not the receiver. And one of the benefits of Lema'an Achai families, people say, how do you know we have success? So one of the markers of success, in addition to all of the others that we're going to speak about in a few minutes, are those families that after X amount of time with Lema'an Achai come and they become donors. And I've had scores of people over the years come to me, usually with tears in their eyes, to say that for the first time in their life, or the first time in quite a while, able to be on the giving side instead of just the receiving side. Projects. You see in front of you, there's a screen with all of our projects. Some of them you're very familiar with. We have Likrat Kala, run by the Penhasik family. We have a loan gemach for interest-free loans, loaves of love, where before every Rosh Chodesh, we give out chalos and Shabbos Mevarachim. There's the Sister Circle financial counseling, tutoring, Ezra Nachama, grief counseling. These are programs. Some of them are professionally run within the office. Others are run by our amazing volunteers. Another real life story, a couple with 8 children struggling financially and emotionally. Husband worked in a job, but not in his profession, and the children were falling behind in school. What happens is, then there's cause and effects in poverty. Usually there are a lot of that come into the crisis situation, very often affecting the children and what's going on in their education. Lema'an Achai provided for this family, vocational counselor, working full-time in his profession and making a decent, a viable salary. The children are receiving homework assistance, mentoring and tutoring with our big brother, big sister, and tutoring program. The family worked with our rights counselor to receive the benefits for a special needs child, and that child is moved to a special school to get the help they needed. So again, in addition to the financial well-being that the family is experiencing, all of the emotional and peripheral issues that were coming have been addressed as well. Another story, a couple with 3 small children, husband and working as a teacher, was extremely unhappy, stressed, and burned out. I spent many years in the classroom. I can understand sometimes that can happen. The wife, during the COVID pandemic, had been unemployed after having worked for a number of years in various administrative roles. Both the husband and wife were looking for career counseling and direction and employment help. They felt that they were drowning, they were floundering, they couldn't really work in their professions. COVID made an impact as well. Again, Lema'an Achai provided career counseling, the citizens' rights advocacy to help them through that difficult period, financial assistance with basic household needs. Where are they holding today? The husband has a course of becoming a mortgage consultant. He's already began earning in that field. And the wife had a course in graphic design and employment counseling, and she has a job in graphic design. That's what Lema'an Achai's goal is. Again, teaching a person how to fish, a hand up versus a hands out. Volunteers. We are blessed to have volunteers from age 6 to 96. That is not an exaggeration. We have a woman who, K'nai Nahar, is 96 years old, who comes in regularly in the office to help. And you see the hours of the volunteers. If you look to the left of the screen, you'll see the number of hours, how it is 2018, 2019. 2019, we had an increase for various reasons in the hours of volunteers, but there's been a steady growth in addition to the spike in 2019 of the thousands and thousands of hours that our volunteer corps give. And again, without the volunteers, we'd not be able to accomplish so much. It would be prohibitive to be able to have to hire out everyone in their expertise and with their time to provide what our amazing volunteer corps does. Financials. Again, we've had an upswing in financials as the needs of the organization have grown every year, Baruch Hashem, with the exception of 2019 a little bit. We've had a growth in what we've been able to fundraise. This past year, 2021, we came to almost 8 million shekel. And we're looking forward to even more to be able to help more families better. Types of donations as well. You'll see here on the chart that these are donations. The green line is Israel donations, and the yellow are United States donations. It's all, in addition to United States, it's a little bit of Canada and England, but it's primarily the US dollar, which we have to take into consideration because the dollar has been devalued over the last several months. But Baruch Hashem, again, there's been a steady growth in the total number of donations that we're receiving both in Israel and from the United States. Unique donors. The unique donors, how many unique donors are? Again, there's a steady growth. You'll see starting from 2016 through 2021. There's again an upswing in unique donors, unusual situations, special donors, new donors. Harat Keva. One of the things that if you call Lema'an Achai, or sometimes we'll call you and other organizations as well, is the idea of a Harat Keva. In other places, they call it recurring donations. In England, they call it a standing order donation. And that is taking whatever you're going to give over the year and dividing it month by month. There's 2 advantages for the donor. The advantage is that you don't give it all out at once. For us, Lema'an Achai, we're able to plan having our cash flow on a monthly basis. And again, Baruch Hashem, by and large, there has been an increase in the amount of money that we're getting vis-a-vis Harat Keva, particularly over the last year. You'll see there was an increase in the United States Harat Keva. The reason being that the idea of Harat Keva, of a monthly donation, has been set in Israel for a long time. It's just starting to catch on in the United States and other places. One of the things that we look to do is our impact on our families, our impact on the community. And we've put into place a lot of measuring tools. that will be able to see exactly how we've helped the families. I mentioned earlier in the presentation that we went to almost 1,000 families, past families who are no longer with us, to see where the second generation is holding. That was one way of measuring the impact. If we can say that 80% of our second generation are either financially independent or on the way to being financially independent, and then we know that we've made a significant impact. In addition, we are tracking through phone, home visits, office time, the spectrum of services that we give, about the concrete assistance, notice the material rights, external consultants. That means if someone is going to a legal consultant or a therapist, and emotional support. We also have a questionnaire that we give a 16-point assessment every 6 months, self-evaluation that the family feels, have they improved, how they have improved based on what's happening in the Lema'an Achai program. What are our challenges for 2022? So our challenges for 2022 are International Chesed Center. I'm sure many of you know that we have been theoretically granted a piece of land here in the middle of Beit Shemesh to build a Chesed Center, to put all of our programs under one roof, with our dental clinic and with workstations for our families and therapy rooms and for our youth programs, everything together under one roof here in the middle of Ramat Beit Shemesh. And we're hoping, Be'ez Hashem, to start building very soon. Another challenge is the rising cost of living in Israel and around the world. All you have to look is open the news to see the percentages of everything rising. It wasn't just the taxes on the disposable goods and sweet drinks that came in the end of 2021. We know now that water and electricity and gasoline and even basic products such as pasta, the prices are going up. That's going to trickle down. The actual price is how much a family is going to be spending. They said there's going to be an increase, a general increase of an average of 10%. So a family that's earning 100,000 shekel, spending 100,000 shekel over the year, just as a round number, is going to go up to 110,000 shekel. Then in addition, the rise in cost of shipping and fuel and water, electricity is going to make an even bigger impact, because that's going to filter down to the consumer goods on the shelf. So we're going to have to face that challenge in helping our families with our material aid. The long COVID, the pandemic's long-term effects, we still yet to see what that's going to mean with businesses that were affected, and emotional effects and family effects, everything that happened by the pandemic and what it's doing to the world at large. The rising cost is one part of it, but there are many things beyond that also connected to the results of the pandemic. And lastly, which I mentioned earlier, is the dollar and shekel exchange rate. Now, the fact that most of our donations coming in Israel, Baruch Hashem, it shouldn't be affected so much, but we still have up to 35% of our donations are coming in the dollar. If the dollar is devalued so much, it's going to affect the total amount of shekel that we get. Real life story. We're going to end with a real life story. Single mother. She had a bachelor's in education. Actually, we helped her finish that bachelor's of education. She was an Ola Chadasha. She came in the middle of her education, and she stopped when she made Aliyah, and she had a lot of difficulty making ends meet. She came to Lema'an Achai. The first thing I asked of her was I would help her finish her BA, and she also had difficulty adjusting to the educational system and culture in Israel. So she came to Lema'an Achai after assistance. She had been here about 6 months. Her Sal Klita ran out. She really didn't have enough resource to provide for her and her children. So she came and we gave her the vocational counseling. We helped her finish her degree, financial counseling, or benefits and entitlements that she was entitled to. She created her own business called Paint Parties Israel, and she went across the country making paint parties. Some of you might even experience her paint parties. Just locally in Beit Shemesh, she's had as the way she says it, from Eilat to Tzfat, from south to north, north to south. She does a lot in Yerushalayim, and she's from striving to thriving in 2 years. And the reason is that instead of just coming for the hands out, that organizations really do a good job of maybe giving food or maybe giving rent. That can only be for a short amount of time. If someone really wants to change their station in life, they have to work hard and they have to have the guidance and the smart head of Lema'an Achai. And Baruch Hashem, 2 years after the Lema'an Achai program, she has her own business. She's independent. She's providing for her family. Achron Chaviv here, you'll see the rendering of what our International Chesed Center will look like. That's the Lema'an Chai building, which will have a place, the crown in the middle of Ramat Beit Shemesh, which is actually the highest point in Beit Shemesh itself. It should be a beacon of tzedakah and chesed, not only for our community, not only for Eretz Yisrael, but for the world as a whole. Smart chesed is the hands up, not the hands out. I want to thank everyone for watching the presentation. I'm open to questions, to comments. If anyone wants to chime in, anything you want to ask, please do let me know.
If you want to ask a question, unmute yourself. Excuse me. If anyone wants to ask a question, just unmute yourself.
Don't all speak at once.
Okay, going once, going twice.
It's not like you could come walk up to me after the end of class. So this is your chance.
I think I speak on behalf of all the other employees on this call that we're honored to work at Lema'an Chai. We work with heart and soul, all our heart and soul. And we appreciate the guidance of Rabbi Leventhal and hope that all those who are not employees feel the same and have the same passion towards the wonderful organization that Beit Shemesh is providing, not just the local residents, but nationally.
I just want to end again. I want to thank you again, Ronnie and Stu, and the entire Lema'an Chai staff, all of you who are here, and the volunteers and our donors. And Rabbi Kiva, they talked about Rabbi Kiva's wife, and he said to his Talmidim, he says, "Mashli, mashalachem shalah." And we at Lema'an Chai feel the same way with our donors and our volunteers. Every story that you heard tonight, and by the way, when we asked our staff for stories, we got many, many more stories than you heard and saw tonight. Baruch Hashem, literally tens and tens and tens of stories from 2021 alone, and an amount of success and the difference in these people's lives that they can wake up in the morning and they look at themselves in the mirror and their children are in a different state of mind and they're able to buy things in the grocery store and pay their bills. Ma shalem shalachem. It's because of you, everything that you have done, the fact that you dedicate yourself, the fact that you are generous, you support us, you give your time, your money, your resource, your love, you share the word of the Lema'an Chai. All of that is in your zechut. And we thank you and we give you a bracha that you should continue to always be on the side of the notain, always be on the side of the giving, whether it's your tzedakah, your money, your time, your expertise, your love, always be on the side to give and make a difference and an impact in your community and the world at large.
See everyone at the 2022 annual review next February.
Shah Tova.
Shah Tova, B'ezrat Hashem. Any last comments? Yasher Koach, Rabbi Leventhal. Thank you very much.
Have a good night to everyone.
Thank you, everyone.